My son banned me from his wedding, but get this, still had the gall to send me a bill for $80,000. Yes, you heard that right. $80,000. Apparently, I was meant to fund his luxury pageant and Hawaiian holiday as some kind of consolation prize for not being allowed to attend. The cherry on top? He actually wrote, "Thank me for letting you contribute." I know. Adorable, isn't it? I just smiled, because crying is for people with energy, and felt my rage turn into something colder, sharper, far more useful. His perfect little fairy tale wedding? Oh, it was about to get very grim indeed. But before I get to that, do me a favor. Subscribe to the channel, tell me in the comments where you're tuning in from, and maybe mention if your children have ever tried to bankrupt you for sport. It'll make me feel slightly less alone. So there I was, sat at my kitchen table in Lexington, basking in the kind of October light that makes everything look poetic right before it all goes horribly wrong. The envelope had arrived that morning, thick, cream-colored, expensive enough to suggest it had already cost me money. Kevin's perfect, borderline psychopathic handwriting was plastered across the front. I thought finally, the invitation. After months of silence, maybe he'd remembered I existed. Foolish me. I opened it with the kind of reverence one reserves for wedding invitations, tax refunds, or secret love letters. Instead of being asked to walk him down the aisle, as we'd once joked about, I was handed a stack of itemized bills that looked like they'd been prepared by Satan's wedding planner. Let me give you the highlights. Mansion rental near Lexington, 50 grand. Because, obviously, love only counts if it comes with crystal chandeliers and the faint smell of generational wealth. Catering, 20,000. Lobster flown in from Maine, because God forbid anyone in Kentucky choke down a prawn cocktail like the rest of us peasants. Honeymoon in Maui, another 10,000. I assume the private beach is for when they need to practice ignoring each other in peace. And then, just in case I hadn't grasped the sheer audacity, there was a handwritten note at the bottom. Dad, after the problems you've caused the family, be grateful I allowed you to contribute. This covers your share. Send the check soon. Victoria and I are counting on it. Counting on it. Like I'm the Bank of England. I just stared. Problems? Ah, yes, of course. The crime of not being ambitious enough. Of only making it to ordinary engineer instead of billionaire genius. Of daring to live a modest life after his mother died of cancer. How terribly selfish of me. My hand shook. I crumpled the note into a ball, then immediately smoothed it out again because I needed evidence for the jury in my head. I looked over at the framed photo of Kevin as a boy, all gap-toothed and beaming, clutching my hand after a Little League game. How on earth did that sweet boy evolve into this man, standing in his designer suit, essentially shaking me down for cash like a posh loan shark? Shock hit first, like being slapped in the chest with a frozen salmon. I splashed my face with water, as if that could somehow rinse off decades of disappointment. Spoiler, it couldn't. I picked up my father's old pocket watch, the one that ticked steadily through 3 generations of honest graft, and thought, well, Kevin's managed to sever that legacy with one passive-aggressive invoice. Apparently, I'd embarrass his future in-laws by simply existing in the same postcode. I smiled then. Not a happy smile, no. More the smile of a man who's realized that revenge might just be cheaper than alimony. So I folded the bill, tucked it neatly away, and let the spark of a plan ignite in the rubble of my so-called parental dignity. I stared at the bill again, those numbers leering at me like smug little zeros at a country club. $80,000. Honestly, it didn't look like a wedding invoice. It looked like I'd accidentally received Greece's national debt. But the anger? That was cooling. You know when rage simmers down into something sharp and icy, like a hangover with purpose? That was me. Kevin thought he could manipulate me. He thought wrong. A direct confrontation would be useless. He'd just roll his eyes, tell me to calm down, and remind me of all my failures. Classic son. No, I need information. Leverage. Cracks in their perfect Instagram facade. So I dusted off my ancient laptop, truly a relic of a Cold War at this point, and sat it on the counter like Excalibur waiting for battle. Time to see what my ungrateful heir and his handbag enthusiast fiancé were really up to. But then my eyes flicked back to a photo. Kevin, age 8. Jacobson Park. The day the heavens opened up and he curled into me in the car whispering, "Don't worry, Dad, you're the strongest." Strongest. Cute. Now apparently I'm the weakest, unless you count my ability to bankroll luxury honeymoons. Which, let's face it, is not the kind of strength anyone brags about at the pub. The kitchen smelled faintly of stale coffee and crushed dreams. I paced. Floorboards creaked in sympathy, as though the house itself was rolling its eyes at me. The memories came thick and fast, weekends teaching him to swing a bat, Elena cheering him on, our trio against the world. But then she died, and the boy who once thought I was invincible decided I was a failure with a mortgage. Ah, grief, the gift that keeps on giving. I remembered 2016. Kevin on the phone, 25 years old, already climbing the tech ladder with his shiny suits and shinier contempt. "You let her down, Dad," he'd spat, as though money had the power to cure cancer if only I'd clocked a bit more overtime. I tried explaining about the insurance battles, the second mortgage, the desperate juggling act, but he only heard poverty, not sacrifice. And last Christmas? Oh, that was festive. I showed up to their glass and steel apartment with homemade tamales, Elena's recipe, cooked with love and slightly burnt fingers. Victoria didn't even look up from her phone, whispered something to Kevin, and he smirked. "Dad, we're vegan now." And honestly, you showing up unannounced is awkward. Awkward. Like my existence was some sort of social faux pas. I left early. Street lights blurred into one long reminder that I'd been upgraded from father to embarrassment. And now this bill. The final insult. A demand dressed up as a privilege. Be grateful we're letting you pay. Be grateful? Darling. The only thing I'm grateful for right now is that I didn't throttle the postman when he delivered it. I clenched my fists, stood by the window, watched autumn leaves skittering around like they, too, were trying to escape their responsibilities. My anger burned steady now. Not wild, not reckless. Just focused. Like a middle-aged Batman with slightly worse knees. Because here's the thing, I raised that boy alone after Elena. I sacrificed holidays, luxuries, everything. And now Victoria, Her Royal Highness of designer handbags and Instagram captions, is egging him on like a modern-day Lady Macbeth, only with more selfies. So no, I wasn't the victim anymore. This betrayal deserved consequences. Delicious ones. Rain began to patter against the glass, syncing up nicely with my inner storm. For a brief second, I wondered, am I too old for this fight? Then I remembered. Revenge doesn't check your birth certificate. It checks your resolve. And mine was solid steel. So I reached for the laptop. Cool metal under my fingertips. The poor thing groaned to life like it was annoyed to be part of this drama. The blue glow casting me as the villain in my own kitchen. Perfect. I clicked open the browser. Kevin's profiles were locked tighter than his wallet when the bill comes. But Victoria's? Wide open. Of course. She loved flaunting their perfect life. Spoiler alert. Nothing says perfect like providing your enemies with free intel. And just like that, the game began. I scrolled through Victoria's posts, each one stabbing me in the eye like a Diamante stiletto heel. Can't wait for our dream wedding at the Ashford estate. Hashtag blessed, hashtag trust luxury living. Hashtags for everything except hashtag scamming dad. Then, the date. November 15th, 2024. Just weeks away. Photos of the mansion flashed up, crystal chandeliers, sweeping ballrooms. The sort of place where you're not allowed to breathe unless you're wearing silk. I sipped from the cheap red wine I'd been saving. Bitter. Perfect. Nothing says plotting revenge like Aldi's finest Cabernet. No more wallowing. Action time. I grabbed a notepad and started scribbling like some deranged detective in a budget crime drama. Venue, Ashford Estate. Rental, 50 grand. Caterer, elite events, because nothing screams farm to table like charging 20,000 pounds to plate a radish. Photographer, some high-end visionary called Leah Voss. Her portfolio was all glossy perfection. Victoria captioned it with heart emojis, of course. Because nothing says eternal love like a rented filter and an influencer pout. Should I confront Kevin directly? Tempting. But no. He thrives on dismissing me. He'd probably smirk, pat me on the head, and tell me to leave it to the grown-ups. No, better to creep about in the shadows like an elderly Batman with a loyalty card at little. Tab after tab opened. Wedding planner, Mark Brennan. His bio promised seamless events for discerning clients. Translation: I'll charge you a fortune and tell you it's bespoke. A LinkedIn post confirmed he was in charge. Then came the honeymoon. Maui. Overwater bungalow. Naturally. Because nothing says true romance like watching the sea while your dad's paying the bill from his overdraft. And then, oh, the video. Victoria twirling in a wedding gown while Kevin beamed like he'd invented marriage. Caption: Daddy's paying for the party. Indirectly winking face, a wink emoji. A wink. Nothing fuels the fires of vengeance, quite like being reduced to an emoji. So I build a list. Florist. DJ. Limo service. Each one more extravagant than the last. The kind of expenses that made me wonder if Kevin thought his wedding was doubling as the G7 summit. A small doubt crept in. Was this going too far? Could I actually torch what little family tie remained? Then I remembered that handwritten note. His smug, condescending be grateful. And suddenly my doubt packed its bags and moved out. This wasn't about revenge anymore. This was about self-respect. And maybe, just maybe, entertainment. So I steadied myself, found Mark Brennan's contact number, and dialed. 2 rings. Then a voice, smooth, rehearsed, the kind of tone that charges by the syllable. Mark Brennan Events. This is Mark speaking. How can I make your day extraordinary? Extraordinary. Oh, Mark, if only you knew. I leaned on the counter, keeping my voice calm, almost cheerful. Hello, Mark. This is Stephen Tawes. I'm Kevin Torres's father, the one footing the bill. Pause. Then warmth flooded his tone like honey over poison. Ah, Mr. Torres. Kevin mentioned you'd be calling to finalize payments. We're thrilled you're contributing to such a special day. The Ashford estate is booked solid, and Victoria's vision is coming together beautifully. Floral arches, string quartets. I let him waffle about orchids and violins while sharpening my mind like a knife. Then, casually, actually, Mark, I'd prefer to discuss this in person. Can we meet tomorrow? He agreed instantly. Of course he did. The promise of money makes planners punctual. We set a meeting at his downtown Lexington office. Click. The line went dead. I poured another glass of wine, swirling it like a Bond villain who shops at Aldi. No more hiding behind Kevin's condescending notes. No more indirect humiliation. This was my first move, and I was already enjoying the game. Before bed, he even laid out a clean sweater and slacks, because if I was going to dismantle their perfect little fantasy, I might as well look respectable doing it. Revenge, after all, has a dress code. Nothing fancy, just a jumper that didn't smell like despair and a pair of slacks ironed sometime in the last decade. Enough to look serious. Revenge doesn't require a tux, just conviction and decent laundry. That night, I lay down, the plan setting like concrete in my chest. This was happening. Next morning, coffee in a thermos, keys in hand. I drove through light traffic, autumn leaves swirling across the windscreen like confetti for a wedding I wasn't invited to. Poetic, really. At a red light, doubt crept in. Was this the point of no return? Then the light turned green, and I remembered. No, this was the point of finally having some fun. Mark's office loomed ahead, glass and chrome, everything my old engineering firm wasn't. I parked, walked inside, and was immediately assaulted by the sterile scent of expensive cologne and crushed egos. Mark appeared, hand outstretched, suit tailored within an inch of its life, tie knotted like he'd been born in it. Mr. Torres, come in. Coffee, he asked. His handshake said alpha male, but his eyes said please don't ruin my commission. He ushered me into a chair, so plush I nearly disappeared. His desk was buried under swatches, contracts, and what I assume were receipts for other people's bad decisions. A framed photo of some beaming couple caught my eye, the sort of pair who probably said, we don't do carbs at dinner. Their joy wasn't Kevin's. Not on my dime. Mark launched into his spiel. So, the 80,000 covers everything. Venue, catering, honeymoon deposit. Kevin assured me it's all set. I leaned forward, calm as a monk, but twice as sarcastic. Did he? Tell me, Mark. Did Kevin also mention that he banned me from the wedding? That I'm not even invited to this circus I'm supposedly funding? The pen fell out of his hand. Banned? No, he said family contributions were handled. This is awkward. Awkward, I echoed. Try insulting. He sent me the bill with a note saying I should be grateful. After raising him alone. After everything. Mark rubbed his temple like he'd just realized he'd booked Satan's nephew. I don't know what to say. The contracts are signed. Without full payment, we can't proceed. Deposits are non-refundable, but the balance. I cut in, voice sharp enough to slice his bespoke tie. Inform Kevin the wedding halts until he talks to me directly. No funds. And if he pushes, remind him how fragile plans can be. Mark nodded slowly, stunned. I'll call him today. This changes things. As I stood, I caught him mutter under his breath, that arrogant kid. Finally, something we agreed on. Outside, the crisp autumn air hit me like applause. For the first time in years, I felt strong. Dangerous. Possibly insane, but in a productive way. This was only the first ripple. The stone tossed into Kevin's glassy little pond. But I knew Mark alone wouldn't break him. Kevin's stubbornness was industrial strength. I'd need allies. Someone who knew him. Someone with brains, loyalty, and maybe a grudge. Sliding into the car, I scrolled through my contacts. No calls yet, but silence never lasts when chaos is brewing. My thumb paused on a name I hadn't touched in years. Alex. Kevin's childhood best mate. The one he ditched when ambition became his personality. Memory hit me. Alex at 12, knocked sideways by his parents' divorce. Showing up at our door like a stray. Elena made him hot chocolate. Kevin and I played cards until he smiled again. He'd been family once. Until Kevin traded him in for networking events and stock options. Without thinking, I dialed. Alex, it's Steven Torres. Been a while. There was a pause, then warmth, surprise but genuine. Mr. T. Wow. Yeah, long time. How have you been? Everything okay? I laughed, but it came out more like a cough. Not exactly. Kevin's getting married. Complicated doesn't begin to cover it. Can we meet? I could use your expertise. Heard you're a private detective now, and you always had an eye for photos. He chuckled, dry as sandpaper. Word gets around. Yes, it does, Alex. And soon so will mine. Old cafe on Broadway. An hour, Alex had said. I hung up, pulled into my driveway, and for the first time in years the house didn't feel empty. Purpose makes surprisingly good company. An hour later, I was in the cafe, tucked into a corner table. Smell of fresh scones in the air, leaves swirling outside like nature itself was mocking me with wedding confetti. Enter Alex, taller than I remembered, eyes sharp, camera bag slung like he was about to bust a cheating politician. We shook hands. His grip was steady. Mine was shaking, but only because I downed 2 coffees and half a scone in preparation. Mr. T, you look good. Sorry about Elena. She was like a mum to me too. Thanks, Alex. And call me Steven, I said, sliding him a coffee like we were in some noir film. Kevin banned me from his wedding, but sent me a bill for 80 grand. I'm not paying. I'm fighting back. Alex's face hardened. That sounds like him. Ditched me years ago, when I wouldn't fake a reference for his job. Said I was holding him back with my small-time gigs. Yes, I nodded. Kevin, treating people like disposable office supplies since 1998. Alex leaned in, bitterness in his voice. In college, he stole my project ideas and claimed them as his. When I called him out, he ghosted me. Victoria's the same. All about image. We planned between coffee refills, our strategy forming somewhere between caffeine highs and mutual trauma bonding. Alex would document the wedding from outside. Capture the chaos. Photos, videos, blackmail material if needed. Basically, we were upgrading from concerned relatives to budget paparazzi. At one point, old Mrs. Jenkins waved from the counter. That triggered a laugh. Remember when you and Kevin pranked her with fake snow in July? Alex grinned, then stopped, the grin souring. Those days are gone. He changed. Mine too, I said, voice flat. But this alliance? It's real. Who knew grief and betrayal could brew stronger alliances than blood? We parted with a firm handshake. My head swirled with schemes the way steam curled off our mugs. Before leaving, I asked, what if we need more recordings? Logs. Alex tilted his head, thoughtful. Come by my place tonight. I'll bring gear. Let's prep for real. He turned up at 8 sharp, toolkit in hand, looking like Q from James Bond, if Q shopped at Best by clearance sales. Rain hammered the porch light, turning it into a blurry halo as he said, ready to level up? We moved into my living room, cleared the coffee table of its usual clutter, bills, crumbs, self-loathing, and set up shop. Lamps cast long shadows across the rug. I handed him a steaming mug of coffee, which felt less like hospitality and more like a blood oath. Show me how to protect myself, I said. Recordings. Cameras. The works. Alex unpacked gadgets. Small recorders, hidden cameras, apps that log calls. It was less middle-aged dad's living room and more CIA bunker on a budget. First, legal basics, Alex explained, calm and professional. Kentucky is one-party consent. Hit this button mid-call, and boom. Evidence. I practiced on a mock setup, my voice sounding oddly professional for a man plotting to destroy his own child's wedding. He demoed tactics Kevin might use, gaslighting, deflection. Like when he blamed you for his mom's treatments not working. Alex said quietly, I remember you selling your car to pay bills. He ignored that. The words hit me like a brick through stained glass. I saw Elena again, frail hand in mine. Kevin storming out, accusing me of not trying hard enough, as though grief comes with a customer service survey. She deserved better, I admitted, throat tight. From all of us. You gave everything, Alex replied, tone firm. I owe you. After my parents split, you took me in, tutored me. Kevin laughed and called me weak. We clinked mugs. Not to revenge, not to justice, but to whatever it is two tired men toast to when the world makes no sense. Alex showed me camera placement. Angle it here near the door. Catches faces clear. I tested one, feed popping up sharp on my phone. It was terrifying how satisfying it felt. And as the device hummed softly, I had a thought I couldn't shake. A thought that wasn't about Kevin or Victoria or the wedding. A thought about me. What if Kevin called tonight? That thought sat in my head like an unpaid parking ticket. He didn't, of course. Which was almost worse, because silence isn't peace. It's just dread in a better suit. The next day dragged by in slow motion. I checked my phone so often it probably thought I was in love with it. Tested the cameras. Took a walk around the block to calm my nerves, which only confirmed I now flinch at passing cars like a Victorian widow startled by a pigeon. By evening, I was all but vibrating when the phone finally buzzed. Kevin's name, glowing there like a nuclear warning sign. The kettle was whistling, steam curling lazily, while my phone buzzed itself halfway across the table. Quite the domestic battlefield. Boiling water, chamomile tea, and the ghost of my patience evaporating. I let it ring, watched it skitter across the wood, felt a draft crawl through the window, like the house itself wanted a front row seat. Voicemail. Then buzz again. Victoria this time. Marvelous. Like herpes, they travel in pairs. Ignored that too. Poured my tea. The smell of chamomile grounding me, or at least pretending to. Alex's voice in my head. Record everything. Their words will be ammunition. And oh, they did not disappoint. 3 voicemails stacked up like bad debts. First one. Kevin. Calm at first. Dad, it's Kevin. There's a misunderstanding with the payments. Ah yes, the classic misunderstanding. Like I accidentally tripped and canceled 80 grand's worth of wedding. His voice cracked halfway through, the panic bubbling up like cheap soda. Second one, Victoria. Oh, the performance. Steven, don't do this. It's petty. 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 The woman who hashtagged blessed trust luxury living on Instagram now had the gall to call me petty. I actually smiled at that one. Alex was right. Desperation always comes wrapped in accusation. Third voicemail, Kevin again. Urgency dialed up to 11. Dad, seriously. Everything's falling apart. You owe us this after everything. Owe us. After everything. The sheer gall. I replayed it twice, studying the pitch like a detective with a lie detector machine. By then, the gossip machine had started. Mrs. Hargrove from down the street rang me, whispered, like she was reporting a scandal to the BBC. Stephen, I heard rumors at the club. Kevin's wedding troubles. Money issues. Bless her. The ripple effect had already hit the neighborhood gin circles. Delicious. Then came the piece de resistance. Another voicemail from Kevin. His voice cracking this time, desperate. If you don't fix this, you'll regret it. A threat. Nothing says healthy father-son bond like blackmail sandwiched between cake tastings. The words replayed in my mind long after, echoing around the house like a bad smell. And then, the next evening, the phone rang again. Insistent, throbbing in the silence. I paced the living room, recorder app armed and ready, heart thudding like a drum in a war movie. Let it ring 4 times, just long enough to unnerve him. Finally, I answered. Calm, deliberate. Hello, Kevin. Dad, finally. What the hell is going on? Mark says you're refusing to pay. You're sabotaging our wedding. His voice, high-pitched with frustration. Mine, steady, feet sinking into the carpet like I'd grown roots. And that's where the real fun began. Sabotaging. His word, not mine. The irony nearly choked me. You banned me, Kevin. Sent me a bill like I was a bloody sponsor, not your father. I remember your note, be grateful. There was a silence. The kind of silence that makes you think, maybe he's finally realized he's a prat. Then, boom. He exploded. Look, it's not like that. Victoria's friends, the crowd, you're retired. Dad. It wouldn't fit. But the money, you owe it. After Mum. After the struggles you caused. There it was. The nuclear jab. Blame Mum's death on me again, just to spice up the chat. It twisted like a thorn, but I stayed calm, recording every pearl of wisdom from my darling son. Oh really? I raised you alone. Sold what I had for her care. You blamed me then, you ignore me now. No, Kevin. No payment. You're ruining everything, he screamed, like a toddler who dropped his ice cream. Victoria's furious. The caterers want deposits. The estate's threatening fees. Fix it. I paused, staring at the pocket watch on the side table. Tick, tick, tick. A reminder that dignity is timeless, even if your offspring isn't. Fix what you broke. Talk to me like a son, not a bloody banker. That's when Victoria barged in, her voice slicing through on speakerphone. Stephen, this is ridiculous. We're building a life. Your pettiness could cancel it all. Think of the embarrassment. Embarrassment? Darling, I've lived through Speedos in the 80s. Nothing embarrasses me now. Embarrassment? Like banning your father-in-law while sending him the invoice? Like expecting me to fund your honeymoon while you treat me like dry rot? Oh yes, terribly embarrassing. Kevin jumped back in, defensive, predictable. It's duty, Dad. Family contributes. Admit it, you're jealous of my success. And there it was. The great Freudian slip. Jealous. Of his success. Success, apparently, being defined as sponging off your father and shouting at delivery drivers. I countered, cool as a pint of lager on a Sunday. Success built on using people. Not anymore. The line crackled with his heavy breathing. Then, you'll regret this. We're done. Click. Silence. Glorious, infuriating silence. His threat still echoing like the world's worst voicemail. Then ping. Alex. Update. Vendors demanding payment. Rumors flying at the estate. Photos incoming. I opened them. Blurry shots of workers frozen mid-setup. A florist van sulking at the curb. Wedding prep grinding to a halt. Courtesy of yours truly. It was almost beautiful. Then came Kevin's texts, rapid fire, short and sharp. Selfish, old man. Destroying our day. All ego. Charming poetry, really. Before I could enjoy it, the phone rang again. Mr. Ellis, my neighbor, voice gruff but supportive. Stephen, saw Kevin yesterday, screaming at a delivery bloke. Demanding discounts. Do you know who I am? He said. Arrogant sod. Victoria just stood there. I nearly applauded down the line. That was Kevin, perfectly captured in 5 words. Do you know who I am? Yes, son. You're the prat screaming at the man with the envelopes. Ellis chuckled. Vendors are pulling out. He's made enemies of everyone. You've got the community here. He doesn't. We hung up, my resolve sharp as glass. I texted Alex back. Neighbors on board. Kevin's burning bridges faster than me. His reply perfect. Escalation incoming. And then a new text from an unknown number. Mr. Tawes, wedding cancellation fees. The words alone sparked another rush of urgency. Meanwhile, the mantel clock ticked on, smug as ever, counting down to something inevitable. And then, like theater itself couldn't resist the drama, dawn crept in. Gray light bleeding through the curtains. November 15th, 2024. Wedding day. Rain pattered against the windows like impatient fingers drumming. Tick-tock, Kevin. I woke up early, the clock ticking smugly on the mantel like it knew today would be theater. The weather app confirmed it, all-day downpour. How poetic. Nothing says divine justice like nature itself deciding to RSVP with thunder. Coffee brewed, strong enough to resurrect the dead. Pity it couldn't resurrect Kevin's social standing. Alex's first text pinged at 7 a.m. sharp. On site. Vendors restless. Photos coming. The pictures trickled in like a bad soap opera. Florists unloading roses only to reload them minutes later. Faces twisted, as if someone had asked them to accept exposure as payment. A caption, deposit issues. Leaving. Music to my ears. By midday, the caterers joined the exodus. Crates of untouched china being boxed back up, while rain slicked the driveway into an Olympic swimming pool. I imagined soggy shrimp cocktails floating like sad survivors. Guests began to arrive, umbrellas blooming like mold in a damp flat. Alex's updates were gold. Confused clusters under tense muttering, "Where's the setup?" "Oh, nowhere, darling. You'll find more organization at a toddler's birthday party." Meanwhile, my phone buzzed like a wasp nest. Kevin, again and again. I let it vibrate across the table like a trapped beetle while I sipped my coffee. When I finally played one voicemail, his voice cracked with desperation. "Dad, send the money now. The estate's threatening to shut it down." A far cry from be grateful. More photos arrived. The grand hall looked like a bomb site from IKEA. The reckoning. Chairs abandoned mid-row, no string quartet, no glamour, just the eerie vibe of a half-finished village hall. And then, the piece de resistance. Victoria in her gown, rain streaking down the mansion windows behind her like tears. Mascara and weather competing in a race to see who could run fastest. For half a second, guilt nibbled at me. Then I remember the bill, the ban, the lecture about being petty. My guilt vanished quicker than the catering van. By afternoon, guests were bailing, muttering things like poor planning into Alex's recorder. Poor planning? My dear, this wasn't poor planning. This was sabotage disguised as justice. And I was sipping it like fine wine. Another voicemail. Kevin again. "Please, Dad, wire it." Guests are laughing. Help. Laughter. Oh, Kevin. The universe has a wicked sense of humor. Then, the crescendo. Pounding at my door. Heavy, wet, insistent. I peered through the peephole, and there they were, Kevin and Victoria. Drenched. Disheveled. The human embodiment of a canceled check. Kevin pushed past the crack of the door, dripping all over my rug. "Dad, let us in." The wedding's ruined. Vendors gone. Guests scattered. It's a joke now. A joke? Finally, son, we agree on something. Victoria hovered behind him, eyeliner smudged into raccoon chic, clutching her coat over the dress like a woman auditioning for Bride of the Apocalypse. "Stephen," she pleaded, voice trembling, "please wire the money. We can salvage something." Yes, salvage. As if throwing cash at a sinking ship ever stopped it going under. My foyer smelled of rainwater, desperation, and irony, and for once I rather enjoyed it. I stepped aside, reluctantly. Because of course I did. The British weather was already punishing them. No need for me to add pneumonia to their list of regrets. They dripped into the hallway like two stray Labradors that had lost a fight with a fire hydrant. The cozy scent of my home clashed violently with the stench of their desperation. Salvage, Kevin muttered, hair plastered across his forehead like some tragic rom-com extra. Oh yes, salvage. The word people use right before admitting they've set fire to everything and now want you to bring a bucket. It was a mistake, he stammered. Victoria's idea, the image, you know. But now it's collapsed. Help us, Dad. For old times. Old times? Ah yes. Those golden memories when he blamed me for his mother's death and only remembered my number when the rent was due. Nostalgia really isn't what it used to be. Victoria chimed in, her voice uncharacteristically shaky. We didn't mean it, it's just the stress. The honeymoon's booked, deposits lost. Think of us. Think of you? Oh, sweetheart, I've been thinking of you for weeks. Mostly in the same category as food poisoning, but still, you've had my thoughts. I leaned in. Tell me, would you value me without my wallet? Kevin froze, eyes darting like a man caught nicking biscuits before dinner. Of course. Your family. But success means standards. Please, just transfer it. Ah, the mask slipped. Standards over bonds. The kind of line you'd find embroidered on a cushion in a sociopath's living room. I shook my head slowly. No, Kevin. This is consequence. Greed has a price. He snapped back, voice breaking. You're destroying us. Guests are whispering. Vendors are mocking. Fix it for your son. Victoria clutched his arm, whispering urgently like a stage actress trying to stop the play, collapsing entirely. But I'd already decided. I moved to the door. And then came his last desperate grenade. Wait, Dad. I regret it. All of it. The rain roared outside, as if the universe wanted a dramatic drumroll. I closed the door anyway. Let the storm have them. Their footsteps retreated into the night, leaving puddles and echoes behind. I collapsed into my armchair, rain streaking down the window like the world's most expensive screensaver. Their car lights flared, then disappeared. Silence, finally. The next few days blurred into curious neighbors ringing, gossip spilling faster than wine at a wedding reception. I even burned the original bill in the fireplace one evening. A symbolic release. Also cheaper than therapy. By week's end, Alex texted. Full collapse. Estate refunded partial. Reputation tanked. Vendors laughing. Guests roasting them. His follow-up photo showed empty tents flapping like abandoned trampolines. I leaned back, satisfied. Poetic justice with a drizzle of schadenfreude. We spoke that night, Alex and I. He chuckled. Stephen, you did it. Kevin's arrogance finally bit him. I smiled, eyes flicking to an old photo album. Faded pictures of happier times. They tugged, yes, but didn't break me. For once, the past didn't own me. Later, Mrs. Hargrove emailed, emboldened by the scandal. Stephen, your stand inspired me. Let's have coffee soon. Finally, a legacy worth leaving. Community built not on checks, but backbone. I toasted myself that evening with a mug of coffee. To dignity reclaimed. My home felt fuller than it had in years. Not with things, not with forced obligations, but with self-worth. Kevin might stew in regret for a while, but regret is a marvelous fertilizer. If he grows from it, good. If not, well, I'll still be here, watering my peace. The rain cleared, sunlight finally splitting the clouds. A new path. For once mine. And if you've been masochistic enough to enjoy this family melodrama, like, subscribe, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Misery does love company, after all.